So look, throughout my life, I've always been extremely interested in the power of the mind, right? I've got some books here that are just things I've read, right? So this is more on the manifestation-y side, which I'm going to put to bed a little bit. And then you've got a bit more of the, I want to say more like proven methods, okay? But my biggest issue with this industry is that people are actually full of shit, number one. But number two, basically people are making money off your dreams and your delusion, let's say, okay? Because I would compare these guys to the guys selling lifestyle in any sort of like the trading industry or the any financial industry, right? These guys are making money off people's blind hope by telling them that they don't need to do any work, they don't need to try anything, and all they need to do is just sit there, some fucking woohoo bullshit, and just manifest what they want, right? What you guys need to understand is that's complete dog shit, right? And people are making money, people are becoming millionaires through selling bullshit information that essentially is elevating people, making people or giving them hope that they're going to be able to get to some sort of end destination through these methods. But realistically, it's just making the guy who is selling the material rich, essentially, right? Some of these guys are acting like genies, telling them to pay you or for you to pay them tens of thousands of pounds as if they're God and they can sort of just bring whatever you want into fruition, right? Inside of this channel, video, whatever you want to say, not whatever I want to say, but inside of this video, I'm going to tell you things that are statistically proven, things that you can actually go ahead, implement in your day-to-day that have been tested along a wide range of subjects, right? I'm not saying that I don't believe in the esoteric side of things, but there's a line that you have to draw because fundamentally some of the information just doesn't make sense, okay? And that's sort of what we're going to go ahead and address here. I have a couple notes because there's about 4 points I want to talk about. First, I want to debunk some things and maybe some things that you've been struggling with that potentially it will provide you with a lot of relief, essentially, regarding some problems when it comes to manifestations, okay? So, yeah, just putting that aside and just remember that these guys, right, when they're selling you information, they're essentially selling you the dream or selling you the end result, just like these lifestyle gurus sell an end result, right? If you see anyone on Instagram flexing Lambos, doing all this other crap, providing no value whatsoever, they're just trying to attract young, impressionable teenagers to go and buy their shit, right? In this channel, like I said, we're very interested in the raw depth material and real shit, essentially, okay? So number one, okay, well, technically this is my second point, right? Your thoughts create your reality, okay? It's a very bold statement to make. There's some partial truth to it, but fundamentally, if you was just to look at that on of itself, it's a very dangerous belief, okay? For numerous reasons, right? First of all, okay, and I don't know about you, I have friends that deal with certain mental health issues. I've dealt with certain issues in the past. One of the main things that almost all humans have are intrusive thoughts, right? These sort of compulsive style thoughts, right? For example, I was watching a video the other day and this guy was basically saying he has this impulsive thought that when he's walking through the gym, he feels like dropping a dumbbell on someone's head. Okay, not that he'd ever do it, right? But he has these impulsive style beliefs. A lot of people with obsessive compulsive disorder, and you might have tendencies to like this, you will feel as if you're sort of this morally incorrupt person who's thought this thought that has done something wrong. If you then apply your thoughts create reality, you're then going to start becoming very paranoid that you're going to start to do something dangerous, okay? But what, first of all, you need to understand is that it's completely normal to have these thoughts. It's genuinely normal, okay? The way or the science behind it is that our bodies a lot of the time will plan for a worst case scenario. So for example, in your sort of like deep inner psyche, your brain might be just playing out a scenario where, let's say you're being threatened by this individual, that you may have to act in a certain way to keep yourself alive, right? It's a survival technique. The only problem is that you're not in that event, right? And if you then start to take these thoughts so seriously to the point where you think these things are going to manifest into reality, it's a very dangerous place to be. Yeah. The other thing is, where I really believe this, it doesn't really make sense, is when you're going to manifest something, right? To have this belief that you're just going to sit here like this, visualize, I have X, Y, and Z, it doesn't make sense, because the person who you are now and the person you want to be, right? There's going to be a bridge of trials and tribulations that you need to go through to actually get to that person. So let's say it's content creation, right? Let's say you visualize, oh, I want to be a content creator, right? I want to do this, I want to do that, right? In the manifest, there's nothing wrong with visualizing, by the way. We're going to get to that in another video. If you visualize this idea and you think, okay, cool, I want this, I want this, I want this, I want this. Number one, having wants without expecting growth is delusional and is very unhealthy, okay? Second of all, once you've activated this thought that you want to become a content creator, or you want to be a trader, or you want to be, I don't know, a drop shipper, right? There's certain things that you're going to have to do to take you from here to here, okay? You are not the person who is able to be over here yet. Otherwise, you would have already done it, yeah? So if you want to become this person over here, you need to then develop the ability to, for example, be good on camera. You need to develop the confidence to talk. If it's trading, you need to learn the concepts. You need to take losses. All these things are going to be extremely hard. So if you're visualizing stuff, right, and you're thinking, oh, you know what, this money's just going to drop on my lap tomorrow. And then all of a sudden you go through all these hardships, you're going to quit visualizing, because you're going to start to think, well, this shit don't work, right? What's going on? And the point is that you need to understand that. And we'll touch on visualization because it's a very good technique. But what you've got to understand is visualization is more of a missile guiding system, right? Your brain, through visualization, can help you find the necessary things in your life that you can pull together to generate maybe what you'd like a business or something like that. And that's more to do with a couple other topics that we're going to talk about in some other videos, right? I'm just going to pause for like 1 second because there's something in the back of my mind I want to say and I can't remember what it is. The group. Okay, I can't actually remember it right now. It was at the back of my mind. But yeah, just understand that the idea that thoughts can create our reality, it can be fairly destructive in some ways, okay? Now, if I'm just giving you all this sort of like, oh, well, if it's not thoughts, then what is it, right? Because I'm still trying to explain to you, or going to explain to you, that our mind is incredibly powerful and it can get us to our end destination. It's just sold or not be sold, it should be explained in a different way, okay? So number one, what we're going to say, we're going to interchange that word, right? From thoughts to expectation, okay? So there's this book that I've been reading, okay, called The Expectation Effect. This is my latest one. I've basically read every single other book here, pretty much. And this is the one I'm reading at the moment, right? So this book essentially explains the power of the mind through expectation. The first thing I'll start this off with is something that is only mentioned at the start of the book, but I think is incredibly powerful. So it's basically explaining how when you perceive something, right? So let's say it's the color of a book, right? I've got this book in front of me, right? Let's say it's the color of this book. When I look at the colors or the pages of this book, this book is made up of what you'd assume is my visual cortex is looking at this book and then relaying that information to my brain and allowing my brain to process the color of this book, right? But they've actually done studies, and what they've noticed is that only around 15 or 20% of the information that I'm seeing right now is being made up of my eyes, meaning the rest of the information is being seen or produced from my brain, essentially the dark areas of my brain. So what that basically tells you is that a lot of the world that we see around us is built upon previous expectations that our brain has, our pre-consumptions of anything really, right? So there's two really interesting studies that I'm going to give you, or that was one of them, okay, the eye study, right? Another really interesting one is a study done by Harvard. So they got women, I think it was predominantly women, who were hotel staff, and they sort of done their blood pressure levels, all their health checks, and they told them that through the job that they were doing, they were actually receiving health benefits, essentially. Initially, a lot of these hotel staff, let's just say they perceived themselves to be unhealthy. They thought they were quite maybe sluggish, overweight, those sort of things. And just by telling the staff that they had a benefit, that this cleaning job was actually improving their health, making them feel better. They were just telling them, right? I'm not sure the exact way that they were convincing them of this information. Potentially they were taking records and then just telling them, oh, this is helping you out. Essentially, across the board, the hotel staff, their metrics had improved. So they'd, for example, lost weight. They had better health markers. So just through thought perception alone, right, these people's whole world basically were able to be changed, right, just through the idea of thought, okay? Another big thing with expectation is also how you see the world around you. So, for example, and this is a really key one, let's say you are looking to get, I don't know, land a new job, start entrepreneurial venture, any of these sort of things, yeah? If you are looking around and you're thinking, no one's fucking getting a job, there's no money anywhere, no one's starting a business, your brain won't be able to bring together different ideas to essentially bring that into reality for you, because your perception of the world around you is in a way negative. If you start to think, oh, you know what, jobs are abundant, businesses are abundant, money is abundant, then it isn't that the world around you changes per se, right? In a way it does, because your perception changes, but it isn't that anything specifically around you changes. It's more that your perception changes of the world, meaning you'll be able to pick up on different ideas, such as, oh, you know what, so-and-so said this to me, and I could actually turn that into a business. Or you overhear certain things. This was another thing. I think this alludes to yes, I remember what I wanted to say about thoughts now. So we have 70,000 thoughts a day, okay? To think that your thoughts would then create reality doesn't make any sense, okay? Because you have 70,000 of them on a daily basis, yeah? Now, building on from that, if you have 70,000 thoughts a day, okay, the other thing you need to sort of interpret is how much information is coming your way on a daily basis, okay? So imagine how many inputs of data are coming into your life, into your being every single day. For example, I'm sitting here and there's some cars driving past, but my mind isn't focusing on that right now. I mean, it is because I'm talking about it right now, but through intention, I'm now focusing on the cars going past. If I just focus on recording this video and not think about the cars outside, I won't acknowledge the cars anymore. Are they still there? Yes. But is my brain absorbing that information and then relaying it back to my consciousness? No. Okay. So when you start to feel like, okay, I want something different in my life, that's why you'll start to see things around you start to change. I.e., you guys will probably know this. This is a classic thing in the UK, right? When you're like, I don't know, 16, yeah, you'll be playing. I can't remember the name of the game, but basically, you'll punch your mate when you see a yellow car. Okay, so your boy will get a punch when he sees a yellow car. So the game starts off by your mate has just smacked you in the arm because he's seen a yellow car, right? Now you're probably sitting on the bus, you're like, okay, cool, I'm waiting for a yellow car, I need to see a yellow car now. And all of a sudden, you just start seeing yellow car after yellow car after yellow car. Initially, you never seen a yellow car in your life. And now you see about 20. And the difference is it's actually something to do with your reticular activating system, which we'll talk about in another video as well. But essentially your brain or this system starts to filter for that piece of information. So it's almost like red car, or sorry, yellow car, big bright lights in your mind. Anytime you start to see this input now, your brain's like, yep, notice, red car, yellow car. I don't know why I keep saying red car, but yeah, right? So your brain starts to filter for this information. Just how, like, for example, when you want to start the business, when you want to get a job, you start to see these things pop up in the world, okay? And that's the power of your mind. That's the power of your brain. Is if you expect or if you want certain things, your brain will start filtering for them. So our expectations are very, very, very powerful. And beyond even this sort of information inputty style thing, your brain can actually make bodily changes. So sort of like an inner chemistry style change in response to expectations, which we'll talk about in another video. Okay, so expectations shape you, right? But the next or the other really key point is that self-image actually shapes you, right? So that one is this one, right? So Psycho-Cybernetics, right? Very, very, very powerful book, right? And he basically explains more about where I mentioned the mind being like a missile guiding system. He explains that you're in sort of like in the in the seat of this, let's say this missile, and your conscious mind will essentially choose where this missile decides to go. If you perceive yourself to be poor, unhappy, depressed, right? This missile is going to be guided to show you that truth in the world, right? However, if you start to feel these emotions of abundance, if you start to think, you know what, I am happy, okay, I am powerful, you will start to see these things in your life, right? And so can you see the distinguishing factor between thoughts creating your reality and expectations and self-image? There's a huge difference. Thoughts creating your reality is more of just a, how do I put it? Like, it's very loose and it's very surface level, but expectation and self-image is a lot more sort of deep rooted inside of your own psyche, which again takes a long time to change, or can take a long time to change. So there's two studies or two ideas that I want to talk about when it comes to self-image. Number one, so inside of the book, the guy's basically, the guy who wrote this, Maxwell Maltz, he was a plastic surgeon. This is how he came about all this information, which is really interesting. He basically noticed that you'd have a guy or have a girl that would come in, she'd be super insecure about her nose, right? Or, I don't know, her lips or whatever women get, nose jobs, etc., etc. I know men get them as well. But normally it's a feminine standardized thing, right? About the looks and, they need to look a certain way and all this type of thing. So woman comes in, okay, she has a really big nose, yeah? So she's tying her self-worth, right, to this idea of her nose. And so in relationships, this is negatively affecting her because she's feeling as if she's not good enough, that she potentially is pedestalizing the other person, which is always going to cause this sort of disconnect in terms of dating success, right? So they would undergo the surgery, okay? She'd have the nose job, and it would be like a night and day shift, temporarily. Straight off the bat, this person or the plastic surgeon would notice how all of a sudden this person just had a sort of night and day change in personality. They'd be super confident. They'd be going out there, killing it with dating. They'd feel great, right? Up until a point where I think it's around 80%, it was majority of the people who did get the surgery would end up relapsing and feel shit about themselves again. Okay, so what does that tell you about the idea of self-image? Number one, it shows you that even though this girl changed all the physical things in the entire, or could have changed any physical image about herself in the world, number one, there was always probably something else to fall back on, number one. But number two, it was the inner voice. It was her inner self-talk. It was her self-image that had purported the problem in the first place. So she thought she was going to go ahead and fix this physical issue, but it was her inner being, right? That was the issue. So from that, she needed to instead change her whole identity, right? That was what she really needed to do. And so basically what happened was the guy in the book, he ended up changing sort of, not profession, but he ended up going down this sort of self-improvement thing, because he noticed that instead of changing people's life through surgery, which he thought he was doing, he could change it through belief instead. Okay. There's another really interesting one about sales, right? So there was a salesman, okay, who wanted to increase his sales capability, and he really thought that he was shit at sales. He thought that he was just not a good salesman. He wasn't confident, he couldn't talk to people, and essentially he just doubted himself, right? And through inner work, visualization, these sort of methods, which again we'll talk about in different videos, he was able to change his whole identity and become one of the best top selling performers in the entire company that he was inside of, right? Just through the sheer change of belief. And if you think about it, that is basically what sales is, okay? I know a lot of you guys will be looking to, let's say, increase your money or increase your relationships. And the cool things about the guys who are going to be watching this material, the people who have been watching for like 22 minutes, you guys are interested and secured in trying to change your future, right? And in my opinion, you guys are being misled by this woohoo bullshit, making you think that, oh, I'm just going to sit here and I'm just going to find the truth. Okay, realistically, it's not going to work like that. And that was something, even for me, that I was tricked in, right? I have no issue with hard work. I have no issue with putting the time and the work in. But for a very long time, I thought that I could bring things into my reality by just imagining things and not changing myself. And that's where I think the big disconnect in this is that you guys are locked in, right? We're locked in to achieving that better future, to get where we need to get to. But these are the things that we need to then focus on: self-image, expectations, how you're approaching life from that perspective, okay? Because like I was saying earlier, the trials and tribulations that you're going to get going through going for a new identity is really where the growth is made. Yeah, it's not really in the whole I want something and then I get it, if that makes sense. Because really and truly, manifestation in a way is a little bit vanity orientated. And the reason I say that is because it's all about I want. But what are you giving? What are you learning? What are you giving and learning? What are you doing in order to get what you want? Does that make sense? Because everything in life is a give and a take. Yeah, you're not gonna get 10 grand by closing your eyes, because you need to provide some sort of value, unless you're expecting to win the lottery or something. But besides the point, even if you did win the lottery, you're not going to know what to do with it. Look up the stat of the amount of people who lose all their money as soon as they win the lottery. And why is that? Because they don't have the belief system, they don't have the self-image, they don't have the self-identity, they don't have the right expectations in life to be able to manage that money properly, okay? So you guys aren't looking for that quick fix, and that's why this information is really, really important. So, yeah, I feel like there's so many different things I'm trying to talk about, and we'll leave it there. I feel like that was good. I've encapsulated, I'd say 90% of what I did want to speak about anyway. You'll be seeing a lot more from me, this style of content. I do want to basically just exercise my information, or the information that I have around the mind, because really and truly that's how we do get further in business, relationships. Everything is mindset. The whole world is your oyster, and it's all to do with how you see it. Okay, so hopefully you guys enjoyed that. We'll see you lot in the next video.